Live, love Africa. What's your excuse for not coming? Please subscribe.
Hello, I'm Dynast Amir. So we're in Lagos, Nigeria, in Ikeja. I'm with Koye Rhodes. We're just Mr. Koye Rhodes, and we're having a discussion about the importance of the diaspora coming back to Africa, coming to help build. We're gonna take a look at his business, and also he has a barbecue restaurant. And so he has a construction business and a barbecue restaurant. So we're gonna get some of this good barbecue too.
Nigeria.
Okay.
You know, we talked about Nigeria being very full of potential.
Yes.
And full of all these resources and all. But if we really look at where we are today, we've lost all the advantages that we probably had a couple of decades earlier.
Okay.
Because we lack the experience to rule ourselves. You know, and when I say that, it's not like if we couldn't. You know, we basically came from a colonial era that had the English or the British people ruling us, and we adapted that without really looking at the composition of the people here and how much experience they have. So, if you look at a lot of places in Africa, it's the same, similar situation where the rulers became like the chiefs that were selling slaves. So there's this master-servant mentality that has not left us for a long time, you know. And so when they got power, they saw power as almost like from the traditional way of where we have absolute power, we can do whatever we like, irrespective of the level of education, the level of thinking, the level of exposure and the experience. So when I look at Africa, and I will concentrate on mainly West Africa, you know, I actually believe that the only way Africa can really move forward is to find a way to get Africans who are in diaspora, both gone as immigrants and gone who are descendants of slaves, to come back. And I've thought about this quite a bit, you know, that is a consciousness thing, in the sense that I don't think someone who's comfortable in New York or in England or in Brazil would get up and just want to come back here. So I've broken it down into two groups of people.
Okay.
That know we Africans that are in Africa, that knows
Our identity. Who we are.
Heritage of where our villages are. You know. I call us the descendants of slave traders.
Okay.
And blacks, especially those who came from Africa across the world, meaning the Americans, South America, anywhere in the world, who don't know or who are descendants of, I call them descendants of slaves, people who were sold as slaves. So, if you look at the slave trade, it was almost like different tribes considered themselves as considered other people as enemies, you know. And my whole philosophy of the slave trade was that it is whoever could capture or invade the enemies and capture them were the slave traders, and vice versa, you know. So we as descendants of slave traders must find a mechanism or a system where we could have a whole consciousness, like since this consciousness thing where we apologize on behalf of our forefathers for participating in the slave trade. And we also need forgiveness from descendants of slaves to forgive our forefathers. And I think until we get to that level of consciousness, we can't really bridge this thing, because like the Jewish Zionist style where as long as you're a Jew from anywhere in the world. And should I continue? Go ahead. And something similar to the Jewish Zionist system where as long as you're a Jew, irrespective of where you are in the world, you go to Israel, you can become an Israeli. Right. I think that level of consciousness and depth of an idea needs to be put in place. The only problem we have really is that we're still being manipulated and controlled by the colonial masters one way or the other. The French Africans are controlled by France, the English Africans controlled by the British or whoever in the world system controls the whole thing because...
but we allow it. I think we allow, the powers to be, they allow it.
No, I would say the power to be allow it, but the problem is the whole economic system works. I mean, if you look at Mugabe, Mugabe did nothing wrong. All Mugabe said was, I wanted to take some land back from the white settlers and give some back to my people. I mean, if you look at Zimbabwe now, they say Zimbabwe is one of the poorest countries in the world. And if you don't look deeper into it, the reason why Zimbabwe became so poor was because when Mugabe took that land back, which, I mean, it probably could have done in a different way, the Western world sanctioned Zimbabwe. Even many years after Mugabe has left power and is even dead, a lot of the sanctions are still in place. So it means what they're saying is, okay, you take the Africans want their land back, and they'll tell you that no, you can't, because these guys have been there for a long time, which I agree. But then fair is fair, I mean, it goes back to the reparation matter too, where they think that you have no reason to ask for reparation. At the end of the day, I think even the Africans in diaspora deserve to ask for reparation. But like I said, it's an economic war power game where it's okay when you're white to get your rights, but it's not okay when you're black to get the same rights. It's so unequal. And if we don't resolve to bring black people back, especially descendants of slaves, I don't think Africa will change. Because if you look at the story, another way I see it is that why, and I'm going from the more traditional African value point of view, why is the black race on the lowest ranking almost across the world? Even though, let's say the States, the blacks in America are probably the most, in terms of wealth, they're probably the most wealthy black people.
I disagree. I would say Nigeria.
I don't think Nigeria.
There's money or
Wait.
I mean, when it comes to like major industry ownership,
There's nothing there.
Nigeria.
There's nothing there. I'll explain that to you.
Go ahead.
But let me just look at it from the world economic structure, you know. But at the same time, in America, they're still at the lowest level.
All right.
While in Africa, we have individuals who are rich. But the question you asked about most of Africa is, how did you create your wealth? They are because the structures are not in place to really make black people grow, or even in Africa, most of the wealth is controlled by the power a lot of Africans haven't grown, particularly Nigeria. Is deep corruption. It's really deep. I mean, it's almost like poverty of the mind. And that also has to do with their exposure, their understanding, and their understanding of their responsibilities as leaders. It goes back to the same slave trade thing, you know. I don't like you, I sell you. You know, they don't have any value for the life of the people. But then the problem in Africa is that there's a cost going on. There's a real cost, you know. And I look at it this way. Pretend you and I are brothers.
We're brothers.
Yes, and we're in a village, and we're talking about 1800s. And I have my sister, and I have my mom, and my dad, and we're in one evening, and we just get there's an invasion by a rival tribe. And they pick all of us up and basically say, okay, you guys, we're 150, 200 kilometers to the coast. We have no idea where we're going. They've captured us. That means you got your mom, your two brothers, and your sister, 4 of you, and maybe a host of other people from your village. Just look at this experience. And they capture you, you know, and you guys are frightened, you're wondering what's going to happen, and whip you. Some people were killed who tried to escape, and they tell you, okay, let's take this trek. And you start to work for days, sometimes chained you so you can't run away. But you still have your nuclear family with you as you work on. And, you know, and then you start to feel the pain, you start to get hungry, and you start to realize you're really in big trouble. You're really in really big trouble. It's not knowing who to turn to, and just being comforted by the fact that your siblings and your mom is still with you. 1 week later, you arrive at a coastal town or village where these guys are, and the first thing you see in your life, the first time in your life, you see a white person. And in the normal African tradition, when they do a cultural thing, and they have the white chalk and all, they see those people represent spirits. And you see this and you get petrified that what kind of people are this? But you realize that whoever captured you can communicate with them. And they watch you and you watch them, and you know, watch them. You're scared now, you look at your parents and you look at your siblings and family and faces. And they lock you up in the barracan somewhere, you know, and you're still all together. But tomorrow, some of those guys who captured you comes and takes your brother away with another set of group. And your sister. So it's you and your mom wondering what's going on with my children, what's going on with my siblings, what's going on with our family, and you can imagine the sorrow that must be in the mind of those people at that time, that what's going on, what are they going to do. They have this spirits they're talking to. They have this, pain you've gone through. They're not feeling you're starving, and that family is broken there. And then you, maybe a few days after, you don't see them again. You have no idea what has happened to them. You have no idea. Whether they're dead, you have no. And then you and your mom they don't bring you and your mom out, you're the children. And then you suddenly realize you're lined up. And your mom watches them pick you. To one side or to
Another plantation.
Yes, take you away.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you watch your mom, you want to, your sister, you don't know where she is anymore. That level of, and the people who you only recognize, are the people who had captured you. You know the tribe, you know at the end of the day, you realize that they put you into these big boats, I'll call it like that. And then you're still going to be chained. You're still going to be whipped up, but this time you're now black people held by white-skinned spirits. I don't know whether they're going to eat you, don't know what they're going to do, whatever they're going to do, but at that time, you're in such pain. And I know, in those days, it wasn't about Christianity. Christianity wasn't there. We were all traditional African religion. In that pain, the woman on that boat or the girl on that boat was just in her life totally cursed or scattered. In that sorrow and pain, we look at the slave traders or the people who captured them and cast them in a manner that they would never, in that bitterness, and cast them in the traditionally that your life will never be okay. Well, then the guy said, hey, to hell with you yourself, your life will never be okay. So there's a curse. And we need to break that curse. That's where I'm talking from a very, you can imagine, we all have families. You can imagine something like that happening to my family today. My kids are taken away. The same thing that happens in wars in Africa today, where people just come, rape your child, take them away. The same thing. That curse is really what I think is the curse of Africa. And I think that is the curse of the black race, especially those of us, because there's a curse going on. And if we don't break that curse, we can't move forward. And to break that curse, we've got to create this thing this real painful curse that was based on sacrificing human beings, either by taking them to slave, by killing or dying on the voyage, or just scattering. That family thing is still, I can use that family thing as the old black race, that we're just so scattered. We're so pained. And the blood of those people are still haunting everybody. I'm going now to the core African thing now. I'm not Christianity, I'm going down to the ancestors, to our roots. A woman, they still do it today, people curse people. A woman who realizes that her life was finished who realizes that they're not going to see their children or siblings who are not going to see their brothers again, who for whatever reason,
All right, the curse. Go ahead.
you know, that crying and curse that was probably mutual from both sides. Because guys, you're my enemy anyway, you could go to hell, you know, and they're saying that you will never ever be able to. For generations, you guys are going to suffer for what you done for to me and my children. That very deep, pain, you know, where at that point they've resigned to their faith, you know, and that is my own spiritual way of looking at where we are. That's black to black, you know. That's looking at the way where we are now. It's that. There's a curse. And unless we can reconcile the two groups, there's the Africans here and the Africans that were taken away, I don't think we can ever get out of this. And the funny part is that this is the only place left in the world now the resources are still there.
Right.
You know, and right now, the people that will stop this from happening, it starts with the Chinese, to the Western world, all of them, because all they see in us is economic gain.
Right.
Either as human beings or mineral resources. We're still slaves to the world.
Right.
You know, I mean, no matter how they try and sugarcoat it, all they see in the black man or in Africa is how can we gain from them? Yeah, I mean, there are a few individuals, but as a whole, we should be paid for. I mean, we can't even ask for reparation if we don't have that reconciliation. Because they say, who do we pay to? Who do you pay to? Who do we pay to? I mean, the story of Haiti is very clear. Okay, the revolted, the king in France decided that you guys have to pay for property that was taken from the owners. What were the properties? The properties were the people.
Right. Exactly.
And in real sense, how could Haiti have ever grown?
Smoking. I mean, so.
No, I don't want to smoke.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Talking about, so you left Nigeria to go to school in Illinois.
Yes.
Did 4 years and came back.
Yes.
And never crossed your mind to stay in America.
No.
Wow. That's rare.
Yeah, it never crossed my mind. I didn't even go for the, they used to have all these recruiting drives on campus. So I never went to it. I just knew that I finished, I was coming back over. Because I believed at that time too that Nigeria was, with what I got out of school, that Nigeria was where the action was, and there was so much I could go back and do. So it never crossed my mind, you know. And like I said, looking back now, I wish I'd thought about it. In the sense that I wish I had stayed there a bit longer, try and get some working experience there.
You would have. If you would have stayed, you would have never came back.
It's possible.
You
But a
would
lot
never
of people are coming back many years after. Yeah, it's possible.
You would have never came back.
It's possible, but you know, I wish I did, because I really think that I could have. I mean, I really wish, because it was the time. I really wish I had some working experience there. You know, whatever I was doing, whether banking, whatever, I just had some working experience. Because I know people that did work and came back. You know, but I can't tell.
I'm gonna tell you what would have happened. You would have got your banking experience. You would have went from teller to branch manager to general manager to area manager to VP. Yeah, you wasn't coming back.
Married an American, you know, and but never occurred to me. But like I said, when I went back in 2000, when I went back based on my barbecue journey. And I was able to meet some people that were in school together who never came back.
Okay.
And I asked them, I'm just curious, did you guys know you were never going to come back? Some people told me yes, that they knew that they were not coming back.
To Nigeria?
Yes.
Okay.
They knew that, they're going to America was to start a new life. But some people said they came back and tried, but because of the experience in America, they just saw that the level of the quality of life they had there was so bad that they went back and decided to stay.
In Nigeria or?
No, they went back to the States.
Oh, so they
came back
to
briefly.
Nigeria and then went back to
But
America.
when they
Okay.
saw the life they were living there, they went back. But the most interesting answer was someone looked at me and said, you know what?
Light is back on.
The guy told me, you know what, Koye, you had something to go back to. Meaning that your family were kind of structured and they had a business and, your parents were okay. You were not like us, that you had something to go back. And that caught my attention, but truly, at that time, I actually believed that I had something to go back. So I came back with a lot of hope and believed that, in 20 years I'll be a millionaire or something, but 40 years after, I'm considering the amount of work I've given to it. It's quite a difficult place to do things without getting, if you want to do it properly. It's quite a difficult place because, especially in Nigeria, because Nigeria has had the misfortune of not having leaders that are really, political leaders that are really either with the military or civilians, political leaders that really understood where in time they were and what their responsibilities to the people were.
So you have from the outside looking in, it seems like you're doing pretty well.
It's perception.
Oh.
And a bit of, you could say I'm doing well, and if you look at the Nigerian, if you look at it from the Nigerian point of view.
Even from the American point of view.
Let me explain that.
Okay, go ahead.
From the Nigerian point of view, I live and work out of a building that was built by my parents.
Right.
So that's some kind of inheritance.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I agree. I've also worked hard. I like work. I've also worked hard, and I've seen that there's a circle there. Is that for every political season that comes, things change downwardly. When you look at it, I'm saying I've been back for 40 years, and when I came in 1982.
And you went to school you left in 1975?
I left in 1979.
1979, okay.
I came back in 1982.
To Illinois?
To Southern Illinois, yes.
Still Illinois University, okay.
When I came back for you to see...
And I was born in 82, by the way.
In 82?
I was born in 82.
Okay. I came back in 82. But when I came back in 82, I was 20. If you want to know how terrible or how bad things are, the way I measure it right now is in 1982, $1 million naira.
It's like $1 million USD, right?
Was about $1.5 million.
Oh, wow.
40 years down the road, $1 million naira
Like with
It's
$2,000.
it's under 2,000.
Yeah, like $2,000.
So I mean, if there's any way to measure the progression of the country, I think that explains clearly what has happened. And the same way that exchange rate went slide down, that's the same way people went down. And then and also we've gotten to a point where the people, I would say the carpetbaggers have taken over power. In the sense that we had a lot of adventurous military men that took power, and kept replacing themselves for at least 20, for at least 30 of maybe 30 years. And then they change.
I have a collection of books as well that I haven't even touched. But if I see a good book, like I was at this bookstore right here at shop right here.
Yes.
I went in there, I saw some books.
I buy it.
Yeah,
I buy it. I keep it when I need it. I mean, it always has a time, and I guard them. I don't even borrow them out because people never return books.
Right.
So I don't give my books out. I guide them and I protect them, lock them up. For me, my most important possession, my books, because I know that whenever I'm thinking of something, I go into it. I find out, one of them will tell me the answer, but there are a lot of them I never opened on the day I bought them.
Same thing here. Now, you're encouraging the diaspora, and I agree that in order to change the course of Africa, it has to be all hands on deck in Africa. But you seem a little condescending, a little bit.
About?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like you're doing very well. I think you're a shining example of what someone who has the will, what you can accomplish here in Nigeria.
True. But at what cost? True, I agree. Look.
I know plenty of owners in America whose hair is falling out or gray, who say, "Man, I wish this is tough."
True.
Being an entrepreneur.
If I had to be more, I mean, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. That's
right.
That I don't even think that way. I'm an entrepreneur to the core. But the point is that if the system is not better structured and has more ease of doing business, it's difficult to do it. I mean, I can imagine a very experienced guy who has done barbecue all his life in North Carolina coming here and deciding I want to put a barbecue restaurant in a place that is really authentic. He could do very well. He could do very well.
You got the guy at Freedom Park who has good barbecue as well. Yeah, something.
You could do very well, but then simple things like the supply chain.
Oh, okay. Electricity.
Simple things like the electricity. Things you take for granted in every other environment, not every other, in most environments or where you're coming from, becomes a major obstacle for you to achieve your goal. I mean, I used to tell people that, what, they say, oh, Nigeria, yeah, there's so much opportunity here.
Yes.
Because so many things that should have been done are still undone. There's so much opportunity here because many things that should be in place is not in place. I mean, entrepreneur-wise, any sharp person, and especially on the outside and looking in here, it's easier for an outsider to actually see the opportunities more than the people who are in there. So any outsider looking in here can see the opportunity quick. It's just to do your due diligence and understand all the encumbrances and barriers that can make you slide. But yes, no. I mean, Nigeria is still, it's a big market, but it's a very difficult market. I mean, so if you're ready to, and which is like everywhere in the world, I mean, I couldn't even go to England and say I want to work there. I mean, I've done it, but I'm too old. I mean, I couldn't come up at 60 and say I want to restart in England. I can look at another African country and say, I can want to restart there. And I can go there. And the reason why I'm actually a good candidate for that is because of the experience I've had working in an environment like here, where you almost have to think outside the box all the time, to get things done. Right. So Nigeria is a good university to learn. But I'm not where you want to go. I'm not condescending at all. I just feel that, in those days they used to say, Nigerians used to say, we're giants of Africa.
Still is.
We're ants of Africa, though.
I disagree.
We're ants. I mean, we used to think we had the most powerful armed forces. We used to think we had everything, but we have nothing. And it's not because the resources and opportunities are not there. It is because we're so corrupt I don't even know. I don't want to say that.
You think corruption has became part of the culture now here?
I think I can't see how we can get out of it. I mean,
like you said, the diaspora coming back is how we get out of it.
Yes, but I mean, I'm thinking of this corruption,
I think that too, diaspora coming back.
I mean, because by the time I think it has to do even with the law and punishment, and I mean, anybody can be victimized here by anybody who has any kind of power, I mean, most of the people who have mobile police guards and the criminals, it's almost like the period of Al Capone in. Look, I actually don't want to sound like I'm Nigeria. I still think Nigeria. I mean, because I'm complaining, but I mean, there's an Indian guy somewhere who's stripping more money than I can say every year, even in this environment, away. So, like I said, many Chinese, many Indians. I mean, so really, at the end of the day, there's still opportunities to be done there, to be there. It's just, but they're probably easier for someone who's coming with a different perspective than for someone who's been there for 40 years.